When we open a history book about India, the story usually begins here, with colonial records or the rise of recent dynasties. This focus creates a 1.7 million year gap in the timeline. Long before the first recorded kingdoms, a completely different type of human was navigating this landscape. That deep history started with a violent geological event. Millions of years ago, the Indian subcontinent slammed into the Eurasian plate with enough force to buckle the Earth's crust. This is the result. These mountains trapped moisture from the sea, triggering the first monsoon cycles and transforming a rocky island into a dense jungle populated by giant prehistoric mammals. These new forests functioned as an evolutionary sieve. By the time the first hominids arrived, the region had become one of the most demanding environments on the planet. Roughly 1.5 million years ago, Homo erectus migrated from Africa and entered this terrain. They were the first to face the subcontinent's apex predators. We find their signature in places like Atirampakam. These aren't just rocks, they are heavy, teardrop-shaped hand axes, chipped with precision to butcher a carcass or crack bone. Actual skeletal remains are incredibly rare, but the Narmada Valley yielded a single, thick-browed skull. It shows a brain capacity that was already approaching the size of our own. They used these stone tools to survive in a landscape shared with the stegodon, a massive 10-foot tusked elephant, and saber-toothed cats. For over 1 million years, these toolmakers were the dominant hominid in the region. Then the record goes silent, leaving us to wonder if they were our ancestors or just a biological dead end. The modern human story begins much later, roughly 70,000 years ago, as small groups of Homo sapiens tracked the coastline from Africa into South Asia. Their arrival coincided with a global disaster. 74,000 years ago, the Toba supervolcano in Indonesia exploded. The eruption triggered a volcanic winter. Thick ash blocked the sun, temperatures crashed, and the human population was reduced to a few thousand survivors worldwide. Look at this geological band from Jwalapuram. You can see the ash layer clearly, but notice the stone tools found in the soil, both directly below and directly above it. The groups that survived these years of darkness didn't just endure. They were forced to rethink their survival strategies to cope with a radically depleted world. During this era of scarcity, the Bhimbetka caves became essential natural fortresses, offering protection from the cold and predators. Large game was becoming rarer, making heavy hand axes obsolete. Survivors began crafting microliths, tiny razor-sharp stone inserts that could be launched as spears or arrows, allowing for hunting at a safer distance. It's here that we see evidence of a shift in consciousness. These pigments aren't accidental. They represent a deliberate attempt to record the world. These scenes show people hunting and dancing as a coordinated unit. It's the earliest evidence of a shared social identity being passed down through generations. The harsh conditions of the post-eruption world prioritized cooperation. Over thousands of years, these cave-dwelling groups developed the social structures that would eventually support larger populations. 70,000 years of migration usually dilutes a genetic record, but the bloodline of those original survivors isn't just found in the soil. In the Bay of Bengal, the Sentinelese and Jarawa tribes have lived in isolation for millennia on the Andaman Islands. DNA analysis shows their genetic history is a straight line. While the rest of the world's DNA became a complex web of mixing, their lineage has remained isolated for 65,000 years. This genetic continuity identifies them as direct descendants of the first coastal migrants. This lineage is a rare living link to the humans who first adapted to the Indian jungle, persisting today in the same geography their ancestors first settled. On the mainland, the climate eventually stabilized. Over the next 60,000 years, descendants of those cave survivors followed the river valleys, eventually transitioning from nomadic hunting to settled agriculture. By 5,000 years ago, this process culminated in the Indus Valley Civilization, one of the most organized societies in the ancient world. Their cities featured precise grids, standard brick sizes, and advanced drainage, the result of thousands of years of refinement. Modern Indian genetics are a mosaic. They combine the DNA of these original inhabitants with later migrations from West and Central Asia. Our history is a 70,000-year record of persistence. We are the descendants of the specific few who developed the tools, the art, and the social bonds necessary to survive a changing planet.